know, first impressions are lasting impressions. The first image that the world got of furry fandom was not the best. And we've been fighting that ever since. Secondly, ours is a very unique fandom. Maybe you haven't noticed this. All of the other fandoms out there, you know, comic book fandom, the Star Trek fans, the Sword and Sorcery fans, the I Love Lucy fans, you name it. Anybody who goes to a convention, they're fans. They are consumers. They are going because they are appreciating the output of a studio or a publishing house or something like that. They are there to consume somebody else's creativity. I don't mean this in a pejorative sense at all. That's perfectly okay. We, however, we are creators. And we are unique that way. We make our own fandom. We have 1,500, perhaps more, all original characters. It's very, very rare you'll see a commercial character here at this convention. We make our own worlds. That puts us at a disadvantage. Because a consumer fandom, if somebody says, what is all this? They can point and say, you see that billboard? Do you see that TV show? Do you see that comic? That is what we're all about. We have only what we create ourselves. And that's difficult for the general public sometimes to grasp. And therefore, when they don't grasp it, they don't understand it, they're suspicious of it. This has been the burden of the imaginative person since imagination was created. So, again, people will naturally start to think there's something naughty going on here. Is there? Yeah, probably. We've got a lot of young people here. If you look at our artwork, yeah, we got a lot of young people here. But the anime fans have a lot of young people. They've got their artwork. Hell, the last anime convention I was at had an entire writing track entirely dedicated to tentacle rape. And we're the perverts? Now that impression, unfair though it is, inaccurate though it is, over-exaggerated though it is what we must deal with. And that is usually what attracts the media. Because lascivious things sell papers. Lascivious things gets hits on web pages. Lascivious things makes people money. And they're here looking for it. My favorite article that was ever written by a media person was a lady from, I believe it was the Hartford paper, and it was about the Fur Fright convention that was held in Connecticut. This lady wrote to them, and she wanted to go to the convention because she wanted to find the smut. She wanted to find all the dirt and the seamy underbelly. She was going to expose the, terrible, terrible. And they, of course, said, no, don't come. We were not interested in that sort of coverage. So she went undercover. She bought herself a spandex cat suit and ears and tail. We can pretty much spot that right away, though, can't we? She went there, and she started looking. And it's a beautiful article because it is just an ongoing description of everything she was looking for and how she couldn't find it. Okay, I'm going to go to, here's the artist get-together. I'll bet they're all in there, you know, they're yiffing and everything. And she went in and there was a bunch of people in a room drawing in sketchbooks. Okay, maybe that's not. The dance! Oh, the dance, that's gonna be, well, I'm gonna go to the dance because that's where, dirty dancing on the floor and, fursuit humping and everything. And she went into the dance, and the first thing she saw was a little 5-year-old girl dancing with a big lion. And she said, okay. And there was a security man standing there watching. And she said, how can you let that child in here? And the security man said, that's my daughter. And she said, well, what's she doing in here? And the security man said, she's dancing with a lion. And the reporter was pushing, saying, well, isn't this an unwholesome environment? And he said, look, little girl has come into this hotel that is filled with 300 walking, talking, stuffed animals. She's having the time of her life. The reporter concluded that she went in looking for the smut and the seamy underbelly and the dreadful stuff. And what she found, she described as a Catholic school Halloween party. That's pretty appropriate when you think about it. Do we have adult material? Yeah, we do. Do we have stuff in the dealer's room that I would prefer my little niece not see? Yeah, we do. We also keep it sequestered. As one of our guests of honor once said, yes, mature artwork for mature viewers. What's wrong? But indeed, they still have that first impression. Oh, the furries, so they're going to come and they're going to see what they can find. The reason I put together this little talk is to give people the tools that they need to be good ambassadors of the fandom. There's right ways to do it, and there's wrong ways to do it. There's a lot more wrong ways to do it than there are right ways to do it. I have seen just about all of the wrong ways to do it. Where's that nice gentleman that had the orange hair? Is he? No, I don't see him. He scared me when I saw him. I thought, ooh, but it's not him. How many people have seen this talk before? What are you doing here? You don't need to be here. It's going to be the same thing. How many people have not seen this talk before? Okay, I'm talking to them. I'm not talking to you. About 8 years ago, I believe it was station KDKA, the local network affiliate, was set up outside the hotel. First off, that's a problem for me. We invite the media in. We specifically, in conjunction with the city, invite the networks, the newspapers, and we ask them, please come in at this time. We will have things to show you, we'll have fursuiters, and we'll have people to talk to you and give you all the information that you need. Under a more or less controlled environment. And I've had people point fingers accusingly at me and say, Uncle Kage is trying to control the media. Hell yeah! Because if I don't, who's gonna? Would you rather the television reporter see this ugly, wrinkly face on, and then nice fursuiters, and then a shot of the dealer's room? Or would you like to see the television reporter pointing a microphone in the face of old Uncle Frank in the corner drooling on himself? Here is a typical furry. Yeah. Uncle Frank. We got a lot of Uncle Frank. You know who Uncle Frank is? How many people have ever gone or been dragged or been forced to go to a family reunion? Been to family reunions? There's 150 people there. They all look vaguely like you. Some have the same last name. You never met them before. You're never going to see them again, but they're somehow related to you. And you go to a park and you have pizza and a picnic and you play kickball. And while this is going on, over in the corner is Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank is the guy that nobody really wants to see at the family reunion, but you kind of have to invite him because he's family. But while he's there, you know, the parents keep the kids away from him, and even the flies don't land on him. Everybody comes and says, how you doing, Frank? Hey! Then he takes a bite out of the picnic table. When the media show up, this is not that interesting. Yeah. That is not that interesting. That is reasonably interesting. Uncle Frank, he's going to sell papers. So yes, when the media are here, we try to keep a more or less controlled environment. Outside, that's a problem. Because outside is not a controlled environment. Uncle Frank can be sitting there in the background picking his nose and eating it. So when I heard that KDKA was outside, I got very nervous. And I ran down there to see what was going on. And there was a gentleman with bright orange hair, similar to the very, very fine, erudite gentleman that was sitting here before who gave me the wine. Thank you very much, wherever you are. Not the same guy. Thank God for him. Because I walked up behind the camera, behind the camera. You can't do anything on camera. And I'll explain why. I walked up behind the camera just to see what the gentleman with the orange hair would say. And as soon as I positioned myself, and the microphone was in his face, I heard him say, yeah, a lot of people think we're sexual deviants, but that's not really true. Only about 10% of us are sexual deviants. And with the camera still rolling, he said, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. The chairman's giving me the evil eye. Okay, step number one. When the camera is there, everything is being recorded. You must be extremely careful what you say. Please don't say, oh, the chairman's giving me the evil eye. Because when you say things like that, it smacks of cover-up. We don't intend to cover things up. There is a difference between covering up something and running up to the news camera saying, look at my smut! You don't need to do that. But for some reason, people seem to think it's appropriate. If I was walking down the streets of Philadelphia and some guy ran up to me with a dirty picture and said, look at my smut! I would say first, I'm in Philadelphia. Next, I would call the police. There's a terrible pervert here. Why do people do that to the news cameras? Possibly because here at Anthrocon, here at a furry convention, we are at home, we are comfortable, we can be ourselves, we are with people who understand us. The people with the cameras don't necessarily fall into that category. We vet the media. Before we let them in here, we do look into their background. What sort of story are they looking to do? The emails all say the same thing. Every single email has the same phrase in it. We understand that furries have been treated badly by the media in the past, but we... That's where I stop. But we... That's not true. All I have to do is look into their background and find out what sort of story they wanted to do. If the last story they did was an essay on the plight of orphans of war, and then the one they did before that was the creative spirit of the artist in a traveling vaudeville show. They're probably looking to do something nice and thoughtful and happy. But if the last article they did was, exposed, U.S. Congress, none-munchers from hell, they're probably not going to write the kind of article that we wanted to show to our friends and neighbors. If you are a none-muncher from hell, okay, great. Just please take off the Anthrocon badge before you talk to these people. So we will vet the media. If they are wandering around on their own, they are going to have a big badge that says, media badge, no escort required. That means we've looked into their background and we think that these folk are going to be okay. But what do you do if you're here at the convention and there is somebody with a giant camera and he's not German, and that's a joke, yes, and he's got a big microphone, usually has a little box around it with Fox News or something on it, and he comes up to you and points it in your camera and says, do you people have sex in these fursuits? You speak English? Yes, just say, if you know any foreign languages, just speak English. Je ne parle pas l'anglais. 英語は全然わかりません。ちょっとすみません。Anything, come up with something, shrug. Then run and find somebody with the yellow lanyard. Because if there is a journalist here that is not accompanied by one of us and does not have the press pass, there's a good chance that that person is one of those people whose email said, "We understand, but we..." And we said, "None munchers from hell, no." How do you recognize a reporter? Okay, sometimes it's obvious. Big, giant camera setup with letters that start with either K or W. Usually extremely well-dressed, got makeup on, got the microphone with the box with the letters on it. It's a free country, you can talk to them, but remember, when you speak to them, you are representing all of us, not just yourself. If you're going to represent me, please don't pull out the sketchbook and say, "Look at my smile!" Gentlemen, like you're sitting in the back there with the yellow lanyard, or me standing there looking, talking with the reporter person. Here we have a fursuit. Hello, fursuit. This is Paul Clemens from WTA. Would you like to talk to Mr. Clemens on the news? Mr. Clemens is probably going to come up and say, "Hello, what's your name?"
Hollywood.
Oh, very, very nice. And so what kind of character are you?
I am a hyena.
You're a hyena. Okay, you're a hyena and you're kind of blue here. That's really cool. Is this a character you made for yourself?
Yep.
What's it like having sex in that fursuit?
Oh.
Now wait. That reaction. That reaction could be construed as guilt. Thank you very much. Mr. Clemens is not going to do that because I will be standing there, Zydex will be standing there, the dorsi are in sniper nests in the corners, ready to drop them with tranquilizers. We don't like to murder our reporters. Yes, you see the red dots there? Anyway. They're going to ask you nice questions. Be honest, be frank, be open. But, you know, if your grandmom's asking you those questions, you're not going to pull out the sketchbook and show it to her. Why do people do that? Okay, in your family, okay, yeah, I know about you. But anyway, what do you do if you get that question? I've had it twice this weekend. I've had 2 radio interviews in the last 36 hours where that question has come up. And they say, "So do you people really didn't have sex in those costumes?" I have several answers to that. And I've used 2 of my best this weekend. The first is, listen, I got an idea. Go home, drag your living room sofa out into the yard at noon, climb inside it, try to get on with your wife, and tell me how you do. That usually shuts them up. Another one I like to use, and I used this one earlier too, is I say, "Yeah, we get that question a lot. Usually it's more a reflection of the person who asks it." There's a saying in Furry fandom, "You don't screw with Uncle Kage," and that's one of the reasons why. What is that called? What did I just do? Redirection. You redirect the question. You don't have to lie to people. You don't have to go, You don't want to look guilty. Maybe you do. I don't know. What you do in your home, that's fine. Knock yourself out. Just try not to die of heat stroke when you do it. But if they're going to ask such a rude question, you are not obligated to answer it. And it is a rude question. Now, if I were working at the laboratory, and I am happily doing an experiment, and a visiting client comes in and is saying, "Oh, what sort of experiment are you working on?" "Oh, I'm doing a titration of this here." They say, "Oh, that's really good. Do you and your girlfriend do a doggy style or what?" Go away. You're a sick person. Oh, that's another one. So did you guys have sex in those suits? That's kind of sick. I don't think I want to talk to you anymore. Redirect it. Again, if you stammer, if you try to deny, oh God, don't deny, never say no. There are 3 answers. There are 3 answers when the reporter is involved with that microphone. The answers are yes, no, which means yes, and no comment, which means hell yes. There's an old story, and I should probably look it up. It's used to illustrate the way the press works. And this goes back to the 19th century. There was a very nasty political battle going on between two candidates in this country. And one of them told his press secretary, okay, I want you to run a story in the newspaper, in the New York Times tomorrow, that my opponent was spotted in a local opium den in a compromising position with a prostitute. And the secretary said, we can't prove that. And the candidate said, we don't have to prove it, we just have to make him deny it. Right? You see it. What is it that the president says when they ask him a difficult question? Mr. Clinton, did you have sex with that woman? He said everything in the world, but he never said no. He never said no comment. Quite frankly, I think he should have said yes. Because imagine, that would have been the end of the argument. Did you have sex with that woman? Yep. Well, how was it? Oh, very good. Not as good as Hillary. Okay. See ya. I'm a comic. I'm good at turning things back on people. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can simply look at them and say, what the hell kind of question is that? It's a perfectly valid answer. I've also said things to reporters along those lines, which afterward I thought that probably was a little over the top. But they don't print it. What's that?
And does he like getting choked with that?
Well, that would be good news. Do you have sex in those suits? I don't know. It looks like you had sex in yours, though. Okay. The person is here and they've got the microphone and they're going to ask you all sorts of things. They'll ask you your name, they'll ask you some personal questions. As I said, just answer them to the best of your ability. Answer honestly. You should never lie. Never lie to the media. They will know. You will get caught. There is no reason to lie to them. However, the truth has a certain tensile strength. Again, you redirect the question. Remember the answer to the first one? Do people have sex in those suits? Look, go home, drag your sofa outside, climb inside it, and try. I didn't say no. I didn't say yes. But it got them off the topic. And if you really don't know how to do that, just watch any politician being asked any question, anywhere, on any network, at any time. I've been alive for 50 years. Never have I seen a politician, from the president down to the local school board, ever actually answer a question. They're good at it. Okay, what about the type of media? Who is this person? How do you know? Is this the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, a respected local newspaper? Is this an NBC affiliate? Is this The Man Show, Comedy Central? The NBC affiliate is probably looking to do a human interest story, because they can still do a very, very good human interest story and get lots of attention for it. Let me turn this off because I'm off duty, go away. There, thank you. Comedy Central, they're looking to make money at your expense. They are not your friends. They will do anything in the world to make you look bad, and the entire world will laugh at you because that's their bread and butter. Think of the name, Comedy Central. Do you think they're a news station? No. Know who you're talking to. And if you've got you are perfectly free to ask, so who are you with? And if they say HBO, Comedy Central, London After Dark, you can say, thank you very much. I don't think I'm interested in talking to you. Goodbye. Well, what are you trying to hide? I am trying to hide the fact that you're an asshole. I didn't want to say it to your face, but you're an asshole. I wasn't pointing at you, I was generic, sorry. You look very offended. Okay. Local news, local press, local papers, probably very safe. If you are not in a convention environment, if you're, say, at a fur meet at home, if you're out on the street and these people approach you, you can talk to them. But again, know what you're going to say, know what things you don't necessarily mean to tell them, and have an escape plan. Because if you get uncomfortable on camera, that's blood in the water for these people. You must be on your guard. If they ask you an awkward question and you look down at your shoes, that's a yes. That's how it works. And they will press. Again, redirect it, deflect it, knock it aside. Turn it back on them. That makes them uncomfortable. Okay. What do you tell them? Here we have nice, no escort required. Zydex says these guys are okay. They are vetted media, and they come up to you and they start asking questions. They say, so what kind of convention is this? Cartoon animals? That's good. You've been to this before, haven't you? I've heard so many people say, it's a furry convention. Okay, we know what that means. The world doesn't yet know what that means. Furry is our little buzzword. Funny animals. It's a funny animal convention. Oh, that's going to make it clear. Let's use the title of an obscure 4-color comic from the 1950s. But everybody knows what a cartoon is. Everybody knows cartoon animals. Now let's examine that phrase. Cartoon animals. The human mind is an interesting thing. We're still figuring it out. But the human mind is a very visual thing. It is an apparatus that is based primarily on vision. For those who have that sense, I don't want to leave anybody out. If I were to say to you, for example, palm tree, somewhere in your mind, this little guy goes to a little catalog of cars and pulls up a picture of a palm tree. In your mind, you get a mental image, a visual mental image of a palm tree, don't you? I keep saying palm tree. If I say flower pot, you don't have some abstract representation, you get a mental image of a flower pot. And the way our minds are wired, and this is coming from a guy who wears a lab coat, it must be true. The way our minds are wired is those images are what stick. Abstract words don't stick, but the images will stick. Apple pie. Here is a nice picture of apple pie. Yep. The apple pie is on the table. Picture apple pie on the table. Yep. I like this apple pie. I like that's an abstract concept. You don't necessarily get a picture along with that, but the apple pie is what your mind says, especially if you're hungry. I want dessert. Apple pie, I want some too. Let's try a little experiment. Let's say I go down the street to the Marriott next week, and there are 400 Harley Davidsons parked out front in a row. And a gentleman walks out, a large, beefy gentleman with hair coming out from under his armpits, and he's got tattoos and lightning bolts and like 3 eyes or something, and a helmet with a spike on it. And his chains are rattling as he comes clumping out. And you say to him, say, what's going on here? And he says, yeah, it's a biker convention. Yeah, you probably heard about us bikers. It ain't true what they say, That movie, The Wild Bunch, that's all a lot of crap. Hardly any of us ever been in jail, and the percentage is really small. And last year, I think there was only like 3-4 rapes in our club, Consider when we got 40,000 members, that's a really low percentage. We don't do that many drugs, and, our bars, Rarely any fights in those bars. Okay. Remember those pictures? What kind of pictures do you have lined up in your mind? Every time he said, we're not, we don't, this isn't, ain't, no, you don't see those words. You see the pictures. And that is what sticks. If the pictures you implant in that gentleman's coconut are negative pictures, he's going to have a negative impression of you. Everybody's with me so far, yes? Haven't lost anyone? So, what kind of convention is this? Well, it's not about having sex with animals. There's a picture, yay. Cartoon characters, cartoon animals. That's a nice picture. That is a good description, and it is a positive image. Use words and phrases, illustrative words and phrases, that say what we are. Don't jump in immediately and try to tell people what we're not. Because people are not going to hear the word not. They're only going to see those pictures. You want to give some examples? Sports mascots. The San Diego Chicken, who is here this weekend, yay. The icons that we have for our advertising. The tigers that tell us what cereal to eat, or what gasoline to put into the tanks of our cars. The camels that tell us what cigarettes to smoke, or used to, you can't do that anymore. I liked Joe Camel. All of these things, maybe not Joe Camel, are images, positive images that people can understand. If you say a furry convention, God knows what's going into the mind of a person who doesn't know what furry means. They're going to think, oh, cousin It's going to walk around the corner at any moment. Okay, so, know your audience. Know who this person is. Make sure that who you're talking to is not out there to exploit you. Because it is the exploitation that gives all of us that bad image. We do not like to be exploited. When you describe it, use imagery, use words that are easy for the general public to understand. If you throw out buzzwords they don't understand, not only are those pictures going to be muddled, but when people are told something that they don't understand, it makes them, to some degree, feel stupid, and they don't like that. It will give you a negative reaction. Cartoon animals. The entire world knows what a cartoon animal is. Use good, sensible imagery. If an uncomfortable question is asked, divert it to the side. I've shown you some examples. 4 years ago, Thursday night, during the guest of honor dinner, my phone rang, which usually means dire emergency. So I excused myself and I stepped outside. I don't know where they got the number, but when I stepped outside and answered the phone, I said, "This is Sam Conway." I heard what was obviously a radio station jingle, and they said, "Hey, this is station WKMA, and we're here with Dr. Samuel Conway in charge of Anthrocon. Hey, you guys are having all sorts of hot animal sex down there at the convention center this weekend, aren't you?" I was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting this. Not at dinner time." So I said, "Well, I would hardly say that's the case. This is a cartoon animal convention. We have costumers and we're doing all these wonderful things." And the guy just kept on. He said, "No, come on, we want to hear about the sex. Tell us about the sex. We want to hear the sex. Tell us about the sex. This is the sex, this costume, sex. And I kept trying to, bat these back and bat them to the side. I said, "Well, really, it is a hobby like any other. It's like saying you're going fishing to have sex with a fish. No, you're going fishing to relax because you enjoy it. You go to a baseball game because you enjoy it. We're here because of our appreciation of the art form of the cartoon animal." And he said, "No, come on, you can tell us. We really want to know what it's like having sex in those suits." And I said, all right, you got me, I confess. Furries are the only human beings on the planet who have sex and you're just jealous. There was about a 4 or 5 second pause. And then, "Well, this has been Dr. Samuel Conway at Anthrocon. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Click." I won that one. There was another. I gotta remember the name of this. It's one of these former, skanky models who is a little too skanky now, so she's got a talk show. It's a different one from Tyra. It's skankier than Tyra. One skank level up from Tyra. I can't remember who she is. On the skank scale, she's like an 8. Tyra's around 7. Their producer got in touch with me. We would like to talk to you about furry fandom. We understand the media has, but we... Yeah, there it goes again. In the past, I would decline those interviews because I knew what they were after. I knew what they were going to do. So I would say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. That was in the past. Because when I declined the interview, they found someone else. And the person that they found to replace me was not necessarily as well versed in media relations. I have had formal training in media relations. I had been in emergency services for more than 20 years. It's a necessary part of the job. The person they got, for example, the Tyra Banks show, I won't mention the name because it's distasteful to me. But that person did not do a very good job presenting our fandom to the world. So I decided if these people are going to interview someone, it might as well be me, because I can hold my own against them. Why do it at all? Why put my professional reputation on the line? Why put myself in jeopardy? Why risk completely destroying any credibility I have with my profession or with my community? Very easy. You guys are worth it to me. So I agreed to do the radio interview. And when you do the radio interview, they bring you first to talk to the engineer, and you hear the show going in the background. They say, okay, no, they try to tell you about what a soundbite is. Yes, I know what a soundbite is. Yes, short sentences, don't ramble on. And you hear a click, and then the sound of the show becomes clearer. You know at that point you're on the air. And the skank 8 lady said, and we have on the line Dr. Samuel Conway, who's going to be discussing the furry fetish with us. Okay, but you know what? I knew they were going to say that. I was ready. Practice. Think about what will I say if I get these questions? Because you may. You're furries. People are curious. Don't jump right to them. That happens a lot. People immediately jump to the defense. I must defend the fandom. I'm going to be the savior of the fandom. And as soon as the person asks them the question, they jump right into the not. It's not what you saw on CSI. Maybe they didn't see CSI. Now they're going to look it up. So she said, we're going to discuss the furry fetish. And I said, well, thank you for having me on the show. First off, I think it's a little unfair to categorize it as a fetish. It is a fandom, just like comic books, just like sports fans, and words. And she kept coming back to, well, you have to admit there's a certain sexual element to this. Well, there's sexual elements to just about everything in our culture. We are creatures of instinct. But again, to categorize furry fandom as being a fetish or being even a sexual event is not fair. That's not what we're here for, at least not me at my age. And I kept trying to put the best spin on it, to keep putting the positive on it, but she wouldn't let it go. And when I got tired and didn't want to play anymore, I said, Miss, you seem awfully fixated with sex. Have you considered talking to somebody about that? Another 5 seconds. Well, this has been Dr. Samuel Conway talking about the furry fandom. Thank you, Doctor. Yes, thank you, Skank, for having me. Questions? about CSI, I kind of roll my eyes and say, oh, that again. That was actually a really, really dumb episode. First off, they could have gotten real fursuits there. Did you see that piece of crap they had, that kitty blue, whatever that, it was disgusting? Also, if that sort of thing was happening at my convention, number one, why don't I know about it? Number two, why am I not invited? That was my standard answer. I got asked about CSI on a radio interview. Carl, I don't know if you were there for that one call-in that I did. Carl is the man who watches my back. Make sure I don't say anything dumb. He's got a hard job, especially at night when the wine comes. But anyway, the question came up. Well, what about that CSI episode? I mean, there's got to be something to it, the way they presented. You guys really have to be, And I said, oh boy. I said, listen, I really feel bad about this. I feel that I'm disillusioning you or disappointing you in some way, but I need to tell you, CSI is a television show, it's not real. Another 5 seconds. And then he sputtered. I won that one too. I like to make it sputter. Like I said, you don't mess with Uncle Ben. So, to answer your question, have I seen it? No. Is it going to cause us embarrassment? Yeah, maybe. Is it going to destroy us? Hell no, we've been through worse, and we survived. We're going to keep going. Oh well. Other questions? Yes, the lady with the nice ears.
As a Pittsburgh resident, how has the evolution of how Pittsburgh has come to accept Anthrocon sort of encouraged you or discouraged you as the convention?
Actually, it's something of an unfair question because Pittsburgh never actually seemed to have a problem with us. From the very moment we showed up, this city embraced us, which I didn't know how to handle it because we were used to the, oh my God, there's people in animal costumes, quickly, lock up the children, close down the schools. But Pittsburgh, they took it in stride, and from the get-go, they were interested, they got into the spirit. That absolutely encouraged me because, hey, it's nice to be somewhere that you're loved. It's nice to be somewhere where people say, oh my God, you guys are back, we've been looking forward to this. Anthrocon enjoys that, and I don't think any other convention to the degree that we do has that kind of relationship with their host city. So I'm not 100% sure how to answer the question because there was really not much evolution. Some of you may remember, when was it, 2008 or 2009, there was a short-lived television series called Back to You. Anybody remember that? Very short-lived. It was a comedy series. The idea was it was a fictional Pittsburgh television station. And the foibles that went along with the television station. They had all the tropes and stereotypes. Kelsey Grammer was the stand-up, I am the professional reporter, is really stuffy, full of himself. I was the last man to interview Anwar Sadat before his assassination guy. The crotchety old, I was a newsman in the 20s, and I can tell you how Son and Hearst were doing. And the, skank number 9, weather girl with skirt up to here and down to here and that sort of thing. And the overweight cigar chomping manager. Not really the best show, but the idea was it was supposed to be a Pittsburgh television station. About their 4th or 5th episode, the episode starts and everybody in the newsroom is talking about going to a really classy restaurant here in the Golden Triangle. Fictional, which is a shame because it really sounded good from the way they were describing it. I wanted to go there. And everybody was excited. The whole crew was going to get together for this classy dinner, especially the stuffy, full of himself. Yes, I am the Pulitzer Prize winner 5 times over reporter. I'm going to enjoy this. We're going down to that restaurant. And the manager comes out and says, we are, you're not. I need you at the convention center tonight at 6. And the man says, but why? But, oh, no, not Anthrocon. And I went, what? You what, mate? And Kelsey Grammer comes up and says, what's Anthrocon? I said, Kelsey Grammer just said Anthrocon. To me. He said, well, it's a convention down there. There's a bunch of people in the animal costumes. It was actually a very, very thoughtful episode. I liked it a lot. Even though the show was crap, that was a good episode. Because there is only a single exchange, and it was tastefully handled. So, what is this, some kind of kinky sex thing? They say it's not. And then skank number 9 crosses the camera and says, you mean these people dress up like animals and don't have sex? That's twisted. And the very, very angry reporter who now cannot go to a nice dinner, and what am I doing talking to these people? I am, you're right. He comes down to the convention center and he's, trying to interview people. Yeah, who the hell are you? And the people in the costumes are dentists, lawyers, police officers, very upstanding types of people. And the jackass in the episode is the reporter who's treating them like dirt. And they're just all like, and don't want to talk to him. Hey, come on, guys, it's all in fun. Then there's the subplot 1, the subplot 2. And we come back to our subplot as he's going down into the parking garage. The news van is down there, he's by himself, it's kind of dark, and he's chuckling and congratulating himself on, how these people he made him look like. And while he's unlocking the van, all these fursuits just sort of melt out of the shadows and surround him. And a rabbit fursuit says, somewhat muffled, "We don't like your attitude." And he's, trying to defend himself, and he's talking to them, and at one point he distracts them. I can't remember what he says. I'm like, oh my God, no, blank! And then I turn around. He jumps in the van, locks the door, and he says, ha ha ha! And from behind, a big fluffy paw goes, Then subplot 1 and subplot 2 are resolved. And as they're resolved, we go to the ending of the episode. Now we go to Amazing Reporter down at the convention center. And he's standing there with all those suits surrounding him, saying, yes, I am here at the convention center having a great time with the furries. And the reporter says, what did you find out about the kinky sex thing? I don't know what you're talking about. These are some of the finest people I have ever met. You really should come down here to the convention center. Call your friends, call your parents, call the police. And people said, they talked about Anthrocon. And I said, guys, didn't you notice? If we have become so much a part of the Pittsburgh scene that they're riffing on us, we've made it. That's sort of an aside. Yes, you have questions.
I would emphasize the money we raise for charity,
Yes.
the money we bring into the Pittsburgh economy.
Yeah, that's
the fund,
$7 a year kind of speaks very loudly.
the fund we have, the guests of honor.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many positive things. And by the way, when you're talking about Kelsey Grammer, how many of you remember he voiced an Anthrocon character called Gary the Rat?
Yeah, we're
Don't
old.
forget that. We're old. So I just wanted to mention that. Accent the positive.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an old song, Accentuate the Positive. I'm not going to do it. I had to figure it out. Was there a tornado? I said, what? They said a tornado. I said, where? They said, no, is there a tornado here? I said, oh, yeah, my daddy told me back in 1964 there was a real bad one here in the county, and that just... Come on, this guy's an idiot, get out of here. I knew exactly how many casualties there had been. I knew what hospitals they were in. I knew the dollar value of the damage. But I didn't have to tell them. Because at that point, that was not my job. They didn't need to know. So just because I had the information does not mean that I had to present it. Because even the honest media can sometimes get overexcited about figures. Try never to give them figures, unless they're nice figures like 7 million. That's a nice round figure with the pointy one at the beginning, 7 million. Yeah, that's what we bring to your economy. Go ahead, make me look like a jackass. You'll never see me again. Very effective. Got time for one more question. There's a gentleman in the back here. Oh, I'm sorry, the big Paul. I've been up there for a while. Hello, Paul. What's up?
What do you think of the new Zootopia movie at the beginning where they say they don't go around naked? What effect do you think that's going to have on fursuits?
No comment. Sorry, I'm out of time. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I didn't